Hi everyone, today's video is about the basics of keto. I'm restarting keto, it's been almost a week now, and a lot of you have asked me, what's my meal plan? What do I eat in a week? So here I'm going to give you all the basics. Enough information to get started and jump into keto while you do all the research to fill in all the blanks. So before we get started, I have two acknowledgments to make. First, do you see the backdrop behind me today? That image was sent to me by someone in the community, Emily Flotilla. So many of you know her and love her. She sent it to me on my phone and said, you know, Eamon, I saw this picture and I just thought of you. And it's amazing because my desktop wallpaper that I've had on my computer and phone for years is a stock photo, but it's so similar to that I was just astounded. I was like, yeah, that really is me. How did you know that was so me? So now that is my new wallpaper. That's my new backdrop. It meant so much to me. Thank you, Emily. I love it. Also, I got a present in the mail a while back, but I haven't made a video since then. See this cup? It says A1 on it, and it's really sparkly. I don't know if you can tell on the camera. Super sparkly. And on the back, the characters from The Wizard of Oz, and it says, it's not where you go, it's who you meet along the way. Now, let me have a sip because I'm very thirsty. But that cup came to me from Jess Nelson. Jess is, you got to get to know her. She is hilarious. She is funny. She has one of the biggest hearts of anyone I've ever met in YouTube land. And I adore her. She is my sister. You know, as much my sister as my own blood sister could possibly be. And I adore Jess. Thank you so much for that mug. She got one for each of us. One says Jess and one says Awen, so now we have our matching mugs. So yeah, we're bonded in cup glory. So thank you for that, Jess. I adore that, and I will use it every day for the rest of my life. So there we go. Acknowledgements done. Let's get into this video. Paul's doing a live stream in about half an hour, so I got to get cracking on this. All right, I may be looking off to the side because I have the information that I'm going to be telling you off over there. So please don't take that personal. All right, basic keto. There's some just basics that you need to know to get started. You can Google all kinds of stuff. Rule.me is a great website. I'll put the link in the description. There's so much information out on the internet about keto that you should always be able to find an answer to your question. If not, you can ask me an email in Discord, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want, you can find me, and I will happily answer your keto questions. So here we go. The basics of keto. The first thing you need to understand are the macros. What's a macro? Well, I'm talking about macronutrients, all right? And the macronutrients in keto are your protein, right? Your fats, and your carbohydrates. Those are what you need to pay attention to, those three macros. And they should break down into a ratio at the end of every day. You are aiming for 70% of your calories from fat, 25% from protein, and 5% from carbohydrates. Now, how do you track that? It's not very easy. I use an app called MyFitnessPal. I'm sure you've heard of it. There are lots of other calculators and stuff online you can get. You just plug in all the food you eat, and boom, it gives you a pie chart at the end of the day, so you know how you did. So grab yourself one of those. The next thing we need to talk about is dietary fat versus stored fat. You may see the macro be like 70% fat. Oh, how can I eat that much fat in a day? Oh my goodness. And it's really not easy to keep your macros up that high. However, you have to understand that with keto, you're telling your body to burn fat for fuel instead of sugar. All right, so if you're eating all 70% of your fat, if you're eating a lot of fat every day, your body is not going to burn your stored fat, and you want it to. All right, so you have to eat enough fat, right, so that it is in that proportion to your protein, but not so much that you're gaining weight. You can gain weight on keto, especially if you're overdoing the fats. And let's talk about some healthy fats that you should have on keto and some that you should avoid. The first one, the one that is probably one of the best fats that you can use for cooking, we'll go over the cooking fats first, is avocado oil. Now, I don't like it. I think it tastes funny. I personally don't like avocados, so, you know, I struggle with that. But it's expensive. I don't really like the taste of it. Nah. But If you like avocados and you can afford avocado oil, it is probably the best oil that you can use for cooking on keto. My personal favorite is extra virgin olive oil. The only caveat to that is you've really got to get organic, cold-pressed extra virgin. All right, that's really important. If you're not getting that, then you're getting all kinds of other stuff in the oil that you really don't want. And the next oil is coconut oil. Same thing, cold-pressed, extra virgin, organic. Make sure you have all those things on the label. I know it's pricey, but, there really is a big benefit. The last fat that I use for cooking is butter, real butter. I strive to find grass-fed, grass-finished sources of dairy, meat, protein, so Kerrygold butter is my favorite. It also tastes really good. So real butter is great for cooking. Now, what about eating fats? Because we do eat fats too. We don't just cook in them. Avocado, once again, it's a great source of very healthy fats. However, try not to have a whole avocado every day. You can overdo it. There are some inflammatory agents in there if you eat too much. You can have some problems with that. So an avocado or two once a week is great. Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is good. It's keto. Although I do generally get the Primal Kitchen mayo, right? So I know that it's all organic, grass-fed, grass-finished products, all that kind of stuff. Sour cream. I use sour cream a lot. Well, not a lot. I don't use it every day, but sometimes I make scrambled eggs with salsa. I like a little spoon of sour cream. I make a lot of dips with sour cream. Nut butters. I love nut butters. I love peanut butter. Not my best option, but there's almond butters and just all kinds of nut butters that you can get. And if you get a good organic one, that's a great way to get a little extra fat in your diet. You got to watch out for the calories though. Calories do count, even though some people say they don't. So watch your nut butters, but get a good one. All right, next we're going on to cheese. Cheese. We're going to talk a lot about cheese later, but you can have some cheese in your diet, and it's also a good source of dairy, calcium, and fats. So, proteins. Now, this is the core of a keto lifestyle. First up, processed meats. As it says on the screen, danger, Will Robinson. There's something called dirty keto or lazy keto, where you just look at the carb count. That's all that you really consider in a day. And that's where processed meats come into play. You really, really, really want to strive to avoid those. I have a hard time avoiding them completely because it's just so easy, especially if I'm out and about running around, which I haven't done in about 2 months, and I miss that. So if you can, avoid any processed meat. Just buy straight up real raw meat whenever possible, and that's going to help you out a lot. All right, next. Let's talk about grass-fed, grass-finished. It's expensive, I'm not going to lie. And I have cut back on how much of this stuff I buy, unfortunately. But you can, even Walmart now has a section of grass-fed, grass-finished beef, right? You can get ground beef, you get hamburger patties, you get steaks, all kinds of good stuff. It is expensive, but you're doing a really good thing for your body, right? So if you can afford it and you have the will to go look for it, always go grass-fed, grass-finished. Also, there is a line of frozen sausages. I think it's called Applewood. I should have looked this up. But they have a line of frozen like breakfast sausages and sausage links that are organic, grass-fed, grass-finished, and they are delicious. So I find them in the freezer at Walmart and Target, I think, too. So check those out. Those are really good. When it comes to protein, the first thing that you're going to have to reconcile yourself to eating is eggs. Eggs and more eggs. I have 2 to 3 eggs a day, sometimes more. Sometimes I'll have eggs for breakfast and dinner, or hard-boiled egg in my salad at lunch, so I eat a lot of eggs. It's also a great snack, hard-boiled egg with a little salt and pepper. There you go. So get used to eggs, buy a lot of them. I use the Eggland's Best brand because I just like them the best, but whatever, you can get fresh eggs, even better. All right, so proteins, grass-fed, grass-finished chicken, and beef and turkey. I really like to buy like just a turkey breast, and you can roast that. Get some pork. I don't do a lot of pork, but maybe, once or twice a week. It's just good. So variety is the spice of life, I guess. Now, fish. Fish is fantastic on keto. A lot of people ask me, how many carbs, what's the lowest carb fish? I'm like, yeah, fish doesn't have carbs in it. but some are better than others. The reason that there's a list of which ones are better is based on the omega-3s and the other essential fatty oils that are in the fish that can be very beneficial. Salmon is probably the best fish you can eat if you like fish. Sardines, I'm not going to eat a sardine, but they are fantastic if you're on keto. So if you like them, get some. Mackerel is good. Tuna, what else is good? Trout, pretty much any fish. There's not a whole lot of bad fish you can have on keto. So, but again, you cannot bread it and deep fry it. I suppose you could deep fry it without the breading, but who does that? So yeah, there you go. Eat lots of fish. Carbohydrates. The main source of carbohydrates that you're going to get in your diet is going to come from vegetables. Now, only 5% of your total food throughout the day should be carbohydrates, and all of those should be very high nutrient-dense vegetables or some of the other carbohydrates, but nutrient-dense carbs. You can't say, well, I get 5% carbs, so I'm going to have a slice of white bread. It does not work that way. You can have some carbs, maybe up to 25 grams a day, but they need to be the right carbs. That's really, really important. So let's go over what some of the right carbs are. All right, veggies. Veggies are your primary source of carbohydrates in your diet. Cruciferous vegetables. These are your broccoli, your cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage, stuff like that. All right, cruciferous veg is the best thing that you can be eating on keto. All right, you do have to count the carbs in it, but not really. So, I mean, you could eat a big giant bowl of broccoli and be fine. So get your veggies in. Very good for you. You want the nutrients. Also, leafy greens. All the different spinaches and lettuces and all that kind of stuff. I buy the big mixed green box when I get my salad mix. So it's got all different kinds of lettuce in there. Celery is really good. No tubers. Right? That means nothing that grows underground. No carrots, no parsnips, no potatoes, no rutabagas, no anything that grows underground. I don't actually know if a rutabaga grows underground because I don't really know what they are, but don't eat them. Now, here comes some tricky vegetables. When we're talking about vegetables, nobody in the world is going to get fat from just eating vegetables, okay? But there are certain vegetables that have pretty high carbohydrate counts. And if you have too much of them in your diet, you can sabotage yourself without really realizing it. So a few of those, onions. I like onions a lot. I usually put a little bit of raw red onion in my salad. When I do a steak, I like grilled onions, and that's probably the best or the worst way you can have them on keto because that intensifies all the sugars in them. But they taste good. So you can have onions, just be very careful with them, right? You don't want to have too much. You try not to saute them. Try to eat them raw if you can. So be careful with onions. Garlic. Garlic is pretty safe. I don't have an issue with garlic. Peas. I like peas, like especially fresh summer peas, the baby peas, or even when you get them in the pea pods, the mange too. I love that, but there's not really too much in it. There's not enough nutritive value in the pea in order to make it worth the carbohydrates and the sugars that are in the pea. So I avoid peas. Right, they are good, and once in a while I may, throw some in a salad or something, but generally I avoid them. Green beans, I tend to have green beans pretty liberally. One of my favorite ways to cook them is boil them up with some onion and bacon in the water to season them. Oh, it's fantastic. So, there you go. I think I missed something. Let me rewind this just a little bit. Carrots. Carrots. I don't like carrots, and I'm glad that they are not keto friendly. They are very high in sugars, so I avoid carrots. A lot of times if you buy prepackaged salad mix, it's going to have shaved carrots in there. That's not going to bug you too much. But don't just sit and munch on a bag of baby carrots, right? Because you could very easily overdo your carb count without thinking. Now, the next big deal, nuts. Nuts are a problem. They're a problem for me because I like them a lot. The best nuts that you can have on keto are macadamia nuts, peely nuts, which are pretty impossible to find. You kind of have to order them online, but they're an interesting nut, and they're really, really good for you, but they are pretty pricey too. Almonds are a good middle ground. They're cheaper than macadamias and peelies, but they're pretty good nutritive. Peanuts are something you kind of want to avoid, including peanut butter. Even the sugar-free peanut butters. All right, moving on. Dairy products. Okay, this gets really tricky on keto. It's very tricky. All right, cream is something that I tend to use. I use heavy cream. And then we have to look at hard cheeses, soft cheeses, things like yogurt, sour cream, cottage cheese, all of that stuff. So let's talk about dairy. Milk, regular old milk, that's right out. Some people on keto drink the almond milks or some of the other nut milks. No, I don't do this. I think you can. There are probably a couple organic almond milks that are pretty good. Make sure they're not sweetened. Be very careful about that. So if I'm doing a recipe that calls for milk or whatever, I tend to use some heavy cream. I'll try to get organic if possible, but it's still got a lot of carbs. You have to be very careful with it. You can't just drench everything in a heavy cream sauce and call it a day. You're not going to have a good time, all right? So be careful. But if you have to have cream or milk in something, heavy cream is your way to go. Hard cheeses. These I have around the house a lot. I have, my husband is really into cheeses, so he's always buying all these funky, strange cheeses. And usually 1 ounce, this much, is a serving. So you really have to watch your cheese. A lot of people will show me that what they've eaten in a week and how come I gained weight. And they're having cheese for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack, and not really realizing that, this much, that's 2 servings. Maybe you can have that much in one day, but not at every meal of the day. You can very quickly and easily overdo it with cheese in your diet. So try to get some hard cheeses that you like. They're great for a snack. If you buy sliced cheese, just read the labels. Even Walmart has an organic mozzarella cheese stick. Mozzarella cheese, string cheese, that's what it's called, string cheese. They have an organic string cheese that's pretty cheap and very tasty. So if you can find organic cheese, anything that's grass-fed, grass-finished, sourced, you're going to win. Do not buy low-fat cheeses. Right? Don't ever buy low-fat cheese. You are not helping yourself at all. And don't buy the prepackaged shredded cheese. Because, if you buy it and you pull it out, it's got that powdery stuff on it. That's usually maltodextrin, which is a carbohydrate, right? So you don't want that. Buy a block cheese, shred it yourself. I know it's extra work, but it's worth it in the long run. So hard cheeses. Soft cheese, you got to be really, really careful. All right, a lot of them have a lot of additives in them. And I'm talking about mixes like that Alouette cheese, that garlic cheese they have is great. They have the flavored cream cheeses. There's a lot of soft cheeses you can get that will knock you right out of keto. So be very careful. All right, so that's cheese and dairy. Yogurt, I don't touch yogurt. There's a brand, what's it called? Two Kind, I think, Two something, where they make allegedly low-carb yogurts, but they're not organic. They're not grass-fed, grass-finished sourced. They have sweeteners in them. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. So I avoid yogurt, but a lot of people on keto do have it. You just got to find the right kind for you. All right, other carbohydrates that you may come across that you may have some questions about. Berries and fruit. Fruit is generally not a thing you can do on keto. Not because fruit is bad for you. It's really not. But it is so high in fructose. There are some fruits you can have, though. Very low glycemic fruits like blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. Strawberries are right on the edge. They're delicious, but they are very sweet, so they can spike your blood sugar. They have a lot of fructose in them, but they're lower on the glycemic scale than, say, oranges or bananas or something like that. Proceed with caution when it comes to berries. I use blueberries, blackberries, strawberries very rarely, and sometimes raspberries, but I'm talking maybe twice a month I'll have berries tops. So, very, very limited and sparing. Nut flours. I cook sometimes with almond flour. I don't like having to use it, but it's kind of the best alternative for me. Be very careful with the alternative flours. They do have a lot of carbs. You do have to count it, and they can very easily sucker you into thinking you're doing ketosis and you're doing really great, and you made this wonderful bread with almond flour, and you're getting 9-10 carbs a slice because you're not paying attention to it. So be very, very careful with the nut flours. MCT oil. This is a tricky thing. I use MCT oil. Let me show you. This is the bottle that I have. I got this at GNC, I think. And I put maybe a teaspoon or so in my drink every day. Be careful when you start it, if you start using it. What it does is it sort of artificially kicks your body into creating ketones, all right, which are very good. That's what you want your body to do. But it can also cause some gastrointestinal distress. So the reason that I take it is for that exact reason. If you are having the very common keto constipation issue, give yourself some MCT oil. I put it right in my ice water. You know, it doesn't taste like it. There's no flavor to it, no taste. So you can sometimes get the texture of it a little on your tongue, but it's not too bad. And it will kind of help you with any constipation issues. And it's also very good for getting into ketosis. But the recommended serving is 2 tablespoons. Do not start with that. No, because you'll think you ate a bag of sugar-free gummy bears. Don't do it. Start with just a teaspoon, maybe every other day. And when that, you kind of get used to that, then maybe 2 teaspoons. You know, work up that way. Okay, work up to 2 tablespoons very slowly. And I honestly don't think anybody needs 2 tablespoons of that a day. So very careful with the MCT oil. The other thing I want to mention, all of these newfangled dang keto products you see all over the grocery store. All the bars, you know, keto chocolate chip cookie bar. Don't. Just don't. The Slim Fast keto milkshakes. Yeah, they look delicious. They probably taste great too. You know why? Because they are loaded with sugar alcohols and things that are really, really bad for you. Quest. Let's talk about Quest. Quest is a big company. I get some Quest products. I love their potato chips. They're not really potato chips. They're protein chips, but they're just like potato chips. And a whole bag full is maybe 4 carbs, 3 or 4 carbs. I love them. They're great. I eat half a bag almost every day with lunch. So, you know, I have no problems with those at all. The Quest bars, I wouldn't touch. You couldn't pay me to eat a Quest bar. You know, there's so many sugar alcohols in there. There's not enough soluble dietary fiber in them. There's a lot of preservatives and fake ingredients, and they're a chemical shit show as far as I'm concerned. Some people swear by them, but not me. I would not touch those. So be very, very careful if you're having protein bars, meal replacement shakes, stuff like that. Just because it says keto on the label does not mean it's okay for your diet, okay? So if you're having trouble with keto, see if you got any of those in your diet and try taking them out. It'll probably help. The last thing I want to go over are sweeteners. Are sweeteners okay? No. Next, moving on. You know, really, that's all I have to say. No, artificial sweeteners are not okay. It's a tough thing because sometimes you just really want something sweet. Or if you're a coffee drinker and you need sugar in your coffee, what else are you going to put in there besides sugar? So people try all of these crazy sweeteners. We're looking at the polyols. Let's talk about those first. Those are the most dangerous things that you can have in your diet. And unfortunately, almost every keto low-carb product you're going to find on the market has sugar alcohols in them. What are they? These are called polyols. They're things like maltitol, xylitol, erythritol, sorbitol. Anything that ends in tol is bad. All right. Now, all the sugar-free candies. I have a friend, who I won't mention any names, who started keto. And the first day, he was like, man, my first day was so great, but, ooh, I had all of these sugar-free Reese cups. And I'm like, you did what? You can't eat those. You know, I think I crushed his world when I explained that you cannot have those and be in ketosis. When you look at the package and you look at the breakdown of the ingredients, you're pretty much eating 99% maltitol and 1% other ingredients. They are just as bad for you as eating regular Reese cups. Right? Maltitol will impact your blood sugar just like glucose will. So why eat them? Because you're throwing yourself right out of ketosis. Yeah, they taste good, but you know, if you don't want to do the diet, don't do the diet. So, you know, you have to really watch those things very carefully. I can't stress those enough. Sugar alcohols can ruin any good keto diet. So, no to those. If you have to have sweeteners, which ones are the best or the least impactful? Monk fruit is one I really like. I have a powdered monk fruit. It's powdered with erythritol, which is a sugar alcohol, but it's one of the least impactful of the sugar alcohols. So the monk fruit with erythritol is pretty good. A lot of people use Splenda. I hear a lot of mixed stuff about Splenda. I can't use Splenda. If I use Splenda, no, I'm done right away. It really impacts my blood sugar. What you can do is, if you have a blood sugar meter, try it. Eat a spoonful of Splenda, check your blood sugar in an hour, and see what it is. Did it go up or down? Did it change? Then at least you'll know if it's something that's going to affect you. So I stay away from Splenda. The liquid sweeteners are probably your best bet. The liquid stevia is probably one of the safest ones, one of them that most people rely on with as little impact on their blood sugar as possible. So liquid stevia, if you can handle the taste, great. You will get used to it. It takes some getting used to it, and you will get used to it. So try liquid stevia. There is liquid sucralose, which is Splenda. That's a little bit better than the powdered stuff, because the powdered stuff, I believe, has maltodextrin in it. So you could try that, but again, I'm very leery of sucralose and Splenda, so be careful. Moving on. That's enough about sweeteners. All right, here comes what I eat in a typical week on keto. Certainly this week, this is my first week back into keto after a week and a half off. So I call it my induction phase. If you remember the old Atkins diet, the first week of Atkins was called induction. It was very, very strict. You were very limited on what you could eat. But it was to kickstart your body into ketosis and get it going. So I still kind of do the same thing. So this is what I generally eat in a week on keto. Maybe not this week, because this is my induction week. But you're going to see some processed meats. You're going to see some cheese, stuff like that, because it's life. I don't have enough resources to go through my life and not have a piece of sausage once in a while, or to make my own sausage out of pure ingredients or whatever. So yeah, you know what? I do buy sausage. So moderate your processed meats, but here we go. Breakfast. My breakfast choices almost always eggs and bacon or eggs and sausage. Scrambled, fried, poached, hard-boiled, whatever you want to do. Almost always 2 to 3 eggs with some bacon or sausage for breakfast. We make sugar-free keto McGriddles. Cloud bread is a big deal. I have a video of me making cloud bread with the recipe on my Patreon channel. You can check that out. Maybe eventually we'll do one for here too, but you can find the recipe. Just Google cloud bread. You make those, and it makes like muffins, and then we put a sausage patty and a slice of cheese, and it's like a McDonald's McGriddle. But when we make the cloud bread, we season it with a little bit of maple extract and a little bit of the monk fruit sweetener. So it really tastes like a McGriddle. They're fantastic. My daughter's favorite thing ever. Egg McMuffins, same thing. Cloud bread with an egg, slice of cheese, slice of Canadian bacon, which is very processed, so don't overdo that. But it's delicious. Frittatas, we just scramble the eggs and bacon and chives and all kinds of stuff together, bake it in the oven. It's great. Omelets, my husband usually makes omelets every Sunday morning with ham and cheese or bacon and cheese or something. So yeah, breakfast usually always has some processed meat in it. My bad. But it's yummy. Can't help it. Now, moving on to lunch. When I'm in the middle of intermittent fasting, right, when I get going with that, I don't usually have lunch. I usually have breakfast and dinner, and that's it. But right now in this induction phase, I'm not ready to jump back into my fast yet, so I am having lunch. Lunch is usually something very light, though. Lettuce wraps. I like to get the nice big romaine leaves. Of course, romaine is always getting recalled, and it's probably going to kill me someday, but whatever. Romaine leaves, and I make wraps out of them. Either I'll do like chicken fajita, right? So you grill up some chicken with the fajita seasoning, a little bit of onions, and put that in a wrap. Wrap it in a romaine leaf instead of a tortilla. I do that with tuna salad, tuna and mayo, chicken salad, chicken, mayo, and spices. There's a million things you can do with a romaine lettuce leaf as a tortilla and have that for lunch. So that's one of my favorite things. Chicken legs. Chicken legs are kind of a thing I have. We make them, I just season it with adobo and oregano and salt and pepper. My mother used to do that when I was a kid. I don't know why it's so good, but I'll make up a whole pan of them, put them in the fridge, and sometimes even eat them cold. It's a great, really quick snack and very tasty. I like that. Meat plate. What I mean by that is I'll have a plate with like maybe a little bit of turkey, maybe a little sausage, or maybe a little pepperoni, a little bit of cheese, just kind of like almost a mini charcuterie plate. Because sometimes I just want something snacky. And generally, that would be processed meat, so not good. But for a light, quick little lunch, it's okay. You have to watch out, though. A lot of calories in processed meats and cheese, so be careful if you do that. Taco salad. Ground beef, taco seasoning, shredded cheese, lettuce, bowl, the Quest nacho chips, crunch them up, and there you go, taco salad. It is delicious. One of my favorite things to eat in the summer, and I have a perfect keto version of it that I don't feel like I'm missing out at all. So we have that quite a lot. A chef salad, another favorite thing. Lettuce, spinach, I'll do hard-boiled egg, some kind of meat either. I don't like to use a lot of ham because ham is very salty and stuff, but some chicken, whatever kind of meat I have laying around. I have a sugar-free version of Thousand Island dressing. It's a little rough, but it gets the job done. So I like to have a chef salad once in a while. And pho broth. It is called pho. It is not called pho. Pho is one of my favorite things on this entire planet, and I miss it. I used to have pho 2 or 3 times a week, but now once in a while I'll get the pho broth and just drink that. I don't have the noodles or anything else in it, but it's delicious. You have to be very careful. Know your restaurant unless you're making it yourself, and if you do make pho yourself, I need to be your new best friend. So there you go. But a lot of restaurants will add rock sugar to the broth. All right, that's one of the natural ingredients of this soup. So be very careful. Understand that. Just talk to your chef. Say, do you put rock sugar in it? And they'll say, oh yeah. Say, great. So you have to keep in mind that how many carbs might be in that, and it might be too much. So you may need to look up recipes and make it yourself. Moving on. I'm out of breath today. All right, dinner. My usual dinner. Steak and Brussels sprouts. I'll have that 2, maybe 3 times a week. A nice marbled piece of steak. Remember, you are not afraid of fat on this diet. Don't buy the leanest cut of steak because, ugh, gross. Buy a nice marbled steak. Give it a really good sear. Lots of butter in the pan. I will sometimes throw in some onions to saute them. Not every time, but every once in a while. And Brussels sprouts. I steam them, cut them in half, throw them in the pan so they get nice and caramelized in the steak and butter and juices. And that is one of my favorite dinners ever. So that's definitely good. Pork chops. I do pork chops and green beans at least once a week. It's just pork chops. Who doesn't like a pork chop? I miss having the applesauce with it, but it's okay. Baked chicken. We do 10,000 different varieties of baked chicken. It's boring. But one of my favorites is you take the chicken breast and butterfly it and stuff it with Swiss cheese and some bacon, or maybe even wrap it in another piece of bacon and bake it that way. It's really good. So baked chicken. Country ribs. You buy those big country ribs. We get them at Walmart. They don't usually have bones in them. Sometimes you'll find a stray bone or two. But they're just big, cheap cuts of pork ribs. And I'll just cook them with the sugar-free barbecue sauce. That's a once-in-a-while treat because, yes, it's sugar-free barbecue sauce, but there are still carbs. So once in a while, I have that when I'm having a hankering for some barbecue. Cauliflower mash. Again, it's a go-to staple if you miss your mashed potatoes. And maybe I'll show you how we make it here in this house. I'm very fussy. I really don't like it unless it's made just right. So we've had to play with the recipe a lot. But those are my standard meals. That's pretty much what I eat in a week. Usually 2 meals a day. Right now I'm still doing 3 before I get ready for fasting. The last thing to talk about is snacks. Oh, snacks. All right, very quickly. Celery and hummus. Just read the label on your hummus. Know what you're getting. Nuts, very small. 1 serving a day. No more. Don't think you can just have a couple handfuls of almonds every time you walk by. But a little snack once in a while, that's fine. Pepperoni and cheese. I love to just sit down and have some pepperoni and cheese. Just be careful. Pepperoni is high in calories. And so is the cheese. Yeah, be careful. Chips and dip. When I say chips and dip, I mean the Quest protein chips. It's usually 3 to 4 grams of carbs for the whole bag of chips, so a nice big serving. And you can make your own dip with sour cream and whatever else you want. So be careful when you make your dip. Just know what you're putting in it and know the carbs. But chips and dip, that's a great snack. Who doesn't love that? And pork rinds. I can't stand pork rinds. But a lot of people really like pork rinds, and you can do so much with them on keto. So if you like pork rinds, you are in luck. All right, so there you go. Those are some decent snacks you can have. That's what I eat in a week. I will post probably a text version of a meal plan type thing in my Discord channel, Patreon, and on the website. So keep out on the look for that. And that's it. I gotta go because Paul's doing a live and I want to go talk to him. So have a great day, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you soon.